Hello again, whiskey friends. Thanks for joining, everybody. One of the best things about the whiskey community is the sharing and the sharing of samples so we can try different things. Now, our good friend Todd at the Bourbon Road podcast. Yeah, Bourbon Road podcast right here. Check them out on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. But Todd sent me 12 samples. And I diligently put those samples into a black box. And I really don't know what Todd sent me. So I'm going to do a series here where I'm going to go through the samples that Todd provided me blind and give a blind review. I mean, what's better? Sharing and blind reviews. So let's kick off the show. All right. Thank you again, Todd. So in this box, if I can even get the right angle, there we go. You can see that there are 12 sample bottles in here. I do not know what they are. I am going to pull one of them blind and do my due diligence here to not look at the sample and not look at the label. So what I've also done is I've got a black Glen in front of me. So I'm going to do everything I can to not look at the color either. So I'm going to stare at you and I'm going to pour this thing in. Okay, it's going in the glass and we're in. I'm going to look away. I'm going to try to do the thing Darrell does with the sample label. And I'm going to show you what this sample is so that you can follow along at home. So here is the sample. I don't know if that is showing up or not. So I might have to edit this out later, but hopefully that is zooming in. Ooh, maybe if I close my eyes here. Hopefully that is zooming in. And then that is the sample, everybody. All right, so we got a blind sample to the point where I don't even know the color in this dangerous whiskey weekend Black Glen. And all that sample mostly made in the glass. All right. So one of the things I do here on the channel is I keep a robust scoring system behind the scenes where we grade 10 different components of the whiskey, the flavor across the entire experience from nose to the finish, as well as experience metrics such as complexity, length of the finish, complexity of the nose, mouthfeel, etc. So as we go through this, I'll actually be shouting out those numbers live so that I can add them up at the end. Now, I don't know the value on these going in, so I'm going to give each one of these the benefit of the doubt and just give them 10 points on the value, somewhat taking that out of the equation for this blind review. So we're going to start things off by getting into the nose. Cheers, everybody. All right, right off the bat here, believe we're dealing with a bourbon. And just off the rip there, maybe finished. I'm not sure on that one. I might be detecting a finish on that first smell. The overall flavor profile I'm getting is reminding me of kind of a coffee cake with a little bit of a yellow cake, cinnamon swirl in there with that ground up cinnamon sugar layer on the top. So overall sweet with a little bit of cake and a little bit of spice. Fruit wise, I keep going back to more of an apple profile, but then my mind keeps going back to a berry profile as well. We'll see if that carries through on the palate, but it's giving me different signals on its fruit profile. The longer I sit with it too, it is coming across as spicy. We're going to figure out if that's a rye spice or if that is the proof. On the nose though, really enjoyable nose. I'm going to give this one an 8 out of 10 on its flavor and an 8 out of 10 on its complexity. Nothing is necessarily wowing me enough to get to a 9, but this is above average, which is the grade of a 7. All right, let's go in for a taste. Cheers, everybody. Overall, on the taste, it is developing. I'm now gone through 2 sips as I've been sitting here thinking about it. Mouthfeel, giving that one an 8 out of 10. It is nice and creamy. What stood out up front with the profile was the spice and the berries there. So now leaning more towards the berries than I was the apple. There's also a nice oak up front and throughout the experience. Not too old, somewhere in that 6 to 7 range, I would guess. But I do enjoy the flavors up front. It is initially very flavorful. Again, giving it an 8. So far, giving it straight 8s. Transition to mid-palate brings out even more of those berries. This flavor profile is so spicy. This is my first pour of the day, so I don't know if I'm just super sensitive over here, but man, it continues to light me up with its spice profile. It's got to be high rye. Mid-palate as well. I keep kind of getting this tinge of a younger oak or something that's sharp. Continues to take my attention away. It hits mid-palate. Then the transition to the finish. Berries continue, now getting into berries and cream. That sharper oak is still there, but there's like a deeper underlaying oak as well. Nice long finish. That spice continues. There's something soothing and almost velvety and chocolatey on the finish. Almost hits me combined with that cream I was mentioning earlier, like a devil's food cookie when you got the cake, the cream, and that chocolate shell outer layer. Flavors on the finish, I gave it an 8, and the length of the finish, I gave it a 9. So overall, adding up all those points, I ended up grading this one at an 84 out of 100, which makes it a good pour. All right, let's see what I was sipping. So I don't know if this zoomed in earlier, but this was actually E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof. And this is the latest batch, 127.4. So that spiciness was a combination of the proof and the spice. You know, it's funny, this is actually the second time that Todd sent me a sample of this, I think. And even with that sample, I think I graded it right around an 84. So at least I'm consistent on the score front. All right, one more sip now that I know what it is. Cheers, everybody. I mean, a solid pour overall, and also impressive length of the finish on this one. Given that it's a Buffalo Trace product, a lot of times Buffalo Trace gives me okay vibes on the finish. Sometimes it can fall off the cliff. This one stays spicy for quite a while, but it really is the mid-palate experience that kept this one from scoring higher. Just a little bit of sharpness on that mid-palate. Now, would I buy this at MSRP? Yes, I probably would. I'll go tubing and I'll enjoy having tubes on my shelf. But I just don't think with E.H. Taylor Barrel Proof and the last couple batches, I mean, more often than not, give me Stag over E.H. Taylor. And I know E.H. Taylor's more rare technically, but I typically like the Stag profile, and I think that happened again today. So big shout out to Todd at the Bourbon Road podcast for sharing a sample here. We're going to go through the series here and get through more of the samples. But if you've had this E.H. Taylor batch, let us know what you think in the comments. And just remember, while you can always have more whiskey, you can never have enough whiskey, friends. Like Todd. So take care of those around you, and we will catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody. Thank you for watching. Hello again, whiskey friends, everybody. A big shout out to our amazing Patreon community. If it wasn't for you, we couldn't continue to produce the content and barrel picks week after week. And for everybody else out there, be sure to hit that like and subscribe. It really helps the channel more than you know. And we'll catch you on the next one. Goodbye, everybody.